And that's another one I teased Terry on. Two people. I thought it was a cutesy song again, and I could see people going, oh, I really like that song.
In 2017, the man who loved her, her husband, Erwin Bach, gave her his kidney. Imagine that. A gift that literally kept her alive. But what no one knew then was that Tina said no. Not once, 3 times. She couldn't stand the thought of someone else suffering for her. That's who she was. Tough, stubborn, heart made of gold and steel. But even that year, while the world saw her smiling, she was hiding a storm. Strokes that made her learn to walk again. Cancer. A quiet decision about how she wanted to leave this world. And after she was gone in 2023, Erwin finally spoke. What he said about those final 6 years changed everything people thought they knew about their marriage. It's wild to think it all began in a shotgun house in Nutbush, Tennessee. November 26, 1939. A baby named Anna Mae Bullock, born in a place so small every room lined up in a row like dominoes. No running water, no electricity. Her daddy made $3 a week working the fields. By 4, she was out there too, a tiny girl dragging a cotton sack bigger than her body. Her hands got rough before they ever got to hold a doll. That kind of beginning, it doesn't leave you. It builds a kind of hunger that never dies. Her mother, Zelma, was trying to survive too. One night, she packed a small suitcase and ran away from the fists, away from Floyd's rage. Just disappeared into the night. Anna Mae was 5. Imagine waking up one morning and realizing your mother is just gone. Her father didn't last long either. He drank, he vanished, and by the time she hit 11, she knew the truth. Nobody was coming to save her. So she started saving herself. She found her voice in a church choir. That's where the fire first cracked open. The choir director said it was ungodly strong for a child. At school, she was the girl who never stopped moving. Basketball captain, cheerleader. Everyone called her Firecracker. That spark was her armor. At 16, she packed her dreams on a Greyhound and went to St. Louis to find her mother. But the reunion wasn't what she imagined. The distance between them was colder than ever. So she got a job nurse's aide, 75 cents an hour, and started sneaking into nightclubs at night. That's where she saw it. Ike Turner's band. Loud, electric, dangerous. That night changed everything. She met one of the band's sax players, Raymond Hill. They fell hard. Too fast. By the time she found out she was pregnant, he was already gone. Mississippi. Disappeared before their son, Craig, was even born. So she kept working days at the hospital, singing nights in smoky bars, chasing something that felt like escape. One night, when the mic went empty during a break, she just stepped up and sang. B.B. King's You Know I Love You. Ike heard her. He tried to ignore it, but you can't ignore a voice like that. By the end of the night, she was in the band. He renamed her Tina. Didn't ask. I just did it. Even trademarked the name so if she ever left, he could replace her. That was Ike control disguised as creation. And from there, the story everyone thinks they know begins. The songs, the hits, the bruises, the kind of pain that doesn't show on camera. He'd beat her, then make her sing through the blood. Told her it was part of the job. Told her love looked like obedience. But she never stopped performing. She never stopped moving. When A Fool in Love hit the charts in 1960, the world thought it was a love song. But behind that record, behind every glittering costume and every scream from the crowd, was a woman just trying to stay alive. You see, what made Tina Turner unstoppable wasn't the fame, or even the voice. It was the way she turned pain into rhythm. Every beat of her foot, every swing of her head, every scream into that mic was rebellion. She once said, "I didn't want to be the queen of rock and roll. I just wanted to survive." And somehow she did. By the mid-70s, the lights were still bright, but the world behind them had gone dark. Ike was burning through money faster than their music could make it. $2,000 a week on heroin is 17 grand today. Tina got 150. That's what her soul was worth to him. One night in 1969, Ike collapsed before a show. Her tour manager, Rhonda Graham, shoved Narcan into his veins while Tina sat at the mirror putting on her makeup. He still went on stage, barely. A session guitarist played in his place. The crowd never knew. The crowd never knew anything. That year, Tina wrote Nutbush City Limits. 20 minutes, that's all it took to turn her tiny Tennessee hometown into a song that sold 2 million copies. But even that was stolen. She later found out Ike had forged her signature on 37 royalty checks. $620,000 gone. He gambled most of it away. When she confronted him, he broke her jaw, and yet she still sang. You know, Proud Mary? Those opening words we're going to do are nice and rough. They weren't planned. They were Tina's rebellion. She threw them in after one of Ike's screaming fits, turned his rage into rhythm, turned pain into performance. That's what she always did. But behind the applause, the abuse never stopped. The coat hangers, the forced drugs, the 14-hour rehearsals until she fainted. He called her weak when she couldn't stand. She was a prisoner inside her own success. Then came the night she decided she was done. Dallas, July 1st, 1976. He beat her for talking to a fan. She looked at her reflection, blood on her face, eyes swollen, and realized the only way out was to stop breathing. She swallowed 50 Valium pills, 4 hamburgers soaked in cocaine. She wanted silence. Just once, but she woke up in the hospital. 36 hours later, alive. Ike told everyone it was food poisoning. 3 days after that, he forced her back on stage. But something had changed. She wasn't trying to die anymore. She was trying to escape. At 2:47 a.m., she ran. White suit, blood stains, sunglasses to hide the bruises. 36 cents and a gas card in her pocket. She hitchhiked across the highway toward Los Angeles, the city of second chances. She slept in friends' garages. Hide from Ike's private investigators. When she filed for divorce in 1978, she gave up everything. $40 million in assets gone. $500,000 in IRS debt hers. She walked away with one thing, her name. Tina Turner, and that name was enough. She told the world everything. In her book, I, Tina, she poured the truth onto the page. The beatings, the fear, the control. It was raw, real. It scared people. But it freed her. She was 40, broke, living in a manager's spare room. Eating rice and beans, selling rhinestones for costume money, performing in Vegas cabarets for $1,200 a week. Critics called her washed up. She just smiled and kept going. In 1983, she was living on food stamps. Pawned her stage outfits for groceries. Sometimes no one recognized her at all. But she never stopped believing. She chanted every morning a sound, a mantra, a promise to herself. Something big was coming, and then it did. Private dancer. Everyone else had passed on the songs. She walked into that studio with nothing but her voice and willpower. Recorded 30 songs in 2 weeks. 12-hour days. Blood pressure spiking. Oxygen between takes. They told her to rest. She refused. What's Love Got to Do With It hit #1. She was 44, the oldest female artist to ever do it. 12 million albums sold. The world finally saw what she already knew. She was never finished. She was just beginning. David Bowie heard her demos and told Capitol Records, "If you drop her, I'm gone." They listened. He called her the best performer alive, and he was right. Then came Mad Max, Beyond Thunderdome. Picture her under the burning Australian sun, in a 15-pound chainmail costume, sitting on a metal throne. She fainted once during a take. A medic ran in. She just laughed and said, "I'm fine." That's Tina made of thunder and grace. Her song from that film, We Don't Need Another Hero, climbed the charts, sold 2 million copies, and gave the world an anthem. Not just a soundtrack, a declaration. When they offered her a role in Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, the director wanted her to play the pretty sidekick. Tina just smiled and said no. Give me something with power. And he did. That one choice changed how women were written in action movies for years. She didn't want to be the girl next to the hero. She wanted to be the hero. Then came Rio, January 16th, 1988, 180,000 people. The biggest live crowd any solo artist had ever faced. The air was thick and burning, 95 degrees and rising. Halfway through the set, her legs gave out. They rushed her backstage, put her on oxygen. Most performers would have stopped. But 15 minutes later, she walked back out, mic in hand, smiled, and said, "You didn't think I'd leave you, did you?" The crowd erupted. She finished the show, then collapsed again. That was Tina. Too much heart to quit, even when her body begged her to. but the past never really stayed buried. Ike had been gone from her life for years, but not from her shadow. In 1985, he offered her $1 million to tour again. She called it blood money. When she said no, he stalked her. Europe, Munich, even her mother's house in Tennessee. Letters, phone calls, threats. She filed for a restraining order. 40 incidents documented. Still, he broke it twice. And through all of it, she smiled for the cameras, walked on stage, and became bigger than he could ever be. In 1989, when she recorded The Best, her label wanted younger. Shorter skirts, wilder moves. She fired anyone who said yes to that. Hired Bob Mackie instead of elegance, strength, presence. That's how she wanted to be seen. At 50, she hit the Grammy stage beside Cher and brought in 40 million viewers. Hours before the show, she'd had a panic attack. Thought maybe the world had outgrown her. But the second the lights hit her, the fear vanished. The crowd roared, and she remembered legends don't age. They evolve. Then came Goldeneye. She was 56 when she sang that Bond-theme voice of steel wrapped around danger. But halfway through the video shoot, her body gave her another warning. Her face went numb, vision blurred. A mini-stroke, they said. She kept it quiet. Finished the video 6 weeks later. If you watch closely, you'll see a tiny droop in her left eye. A scar of survival. Her life became a pattern of rising, falling, rising again. Every time her body broke, her spirit rewrote the ending. When the movie What's Love Got to Do With It came out in 1993, Angela Bassett played her. Tina coached her personally. Ike tried to sue the studio. Lost. Even he couldn't erase the truth anymore. By 60, Tina launched another world tour with 1 million tickets sold. The most successful solo tour that year. But behind the scenes, she was limping off stage, her knees wrecked, pain masked with cortisone and adrenaline. She smiled through it all. Because that's what warriors do when people call it grace. The stroke in 2004 hit harder. Her right side went numb. She had to relearn how to speak. She never told the world. She practiced words before interviews, hiding tremors behind that signature laugh. And Irwin, the man who loved her enough to give her his kidney, lifted her arm in therapy when she couldn't. By 2008, she was back under the lights. 250 sold-out shows in Las Vegas. $1 million a night. Elvis's record shattered. But every night hurt. Arthritis, oxycodone, heating pads, fake smiles, real exhaustion. She made $250 million, but the toll was brutal. Still, she wasn't done. Her 50th anniversary tour made another $147 million, until Sheffield, England, when her body finally said enough. Kidney failure. Dialysis. She didn't tell anyone. Just kept singing. Then came the final chapter. The quiet one. 2016. Intestinal cancer. And then the transplant. Irwin offered her his kidney. She refused 3 times. "I can't take that from you," she told him. But he gave it anyway. 7-hour surgery. 10 hospital stays, complications, rejections, and somehow, it worked. In her final years, she slowed down. I walked with a cane, looked out at the lake in Kusnacht, and said she'd finally found peace. She posted one last message March 17, 2023, warning her fans not to ignore high blood pressure, telling them it had destroyed her kidneys. It was her way of turning even dying into an act of giving. 68 days later, May 24, 12:47 p.m., she took her last breath. Irwin was holding her hand. She was 83. Her sons were gone. Craig suicide. Ronnie cancer. Both lost before her. But she had already made peace with what she couldn't save. She left her fortune to Irwin. And in her final memoir, My Love Story, the last chapter was titled simply Irwin. The final line read, "He gave me more than his kidney. He gave me back myself." And maybe that's what her whole life was about, losing everything until the only thing left was truth. Tina Turner didn't just survive. She transformed survival into art. And somewhere in every scream, every spin, every spark from that mic, she's still alive.